Video opens with a grainy, Super 8mm film effect. We see a close-up of a dusty attic. A single beam of light illuminates motes of dust dancing in the air. The camera slowly pans over a cardboard box filled with old, forgotten toys. A plastic spaceman, a worn teddy bear, some mismatched building blocks. Voiceover. There is a ghost that lives inside you. It doesn't rattle chains or whisper in the dark. It's quieter. More patient. It's the ghost of the person you were supposed to be. You feel it most in the silent moments. In the car, on the way to a job you don't love. Late at night, when the blue light of your screen is the only thing illuminating your face. It's a faint, internal hum of disappointment. A feeling that you are a supporting character in the story of your own life. This feeling, this haunting, has a name. I call it the hero's shadow. It's the invisible weight of the promises you made to yourself when you were 10 years old, in a blanket fort, with a flashlight held under your chin. The promise to be a hero, an explorer, a creator. And today, that shadow dictates your hesitation, your self-doubt, your quiet resignation. By the end of this video, you will understand the hidden script from your childhood that is secretly directing your adult life. And I will give you the key to finally, and permanently, rewrite it. Title card appears over a faded photograph of children playing in a vacant lot at dusk. The font is a slightly distressed, serif typeface. Title. The Philosophy of a Childhood Game. How your past secretly controls your present, the grainy footage returns. We see a point of view shot of someone walking through a bland, corporate office. The colors are muted, desaturated. The sounds are muffled, the distant hum of computers, the soft clicking of keyboards. Voiceover. Let's make this real. Have you ever sat in a meeting, a sterile, beige room, and a question is asked? An opportunity arises. And in your mind, a brilliant idea sparks. It's clear, it's powerful, it's yours. You can see the entire shape of it. You open your mouth to speak, but you don't. A silence hangs in the air for a fraction of a second too long. And in that silence, the hero's shadow falls over you. A voice, which sounds suspiciously like your own, begins its quiet interrogation. Is that really a good idea? What if they think it's stupid? Someone else probably has a better angle. Don't draw attention to yourself. Just wait. Let someone else go first. And then, someone else does. They voice an idea, maybe not as good as yours, maybe just a piece of it, but they say it with confidence. The room nods. The moment passes. It's gone. You don't feel anger. Not really. What you feel is a hollow, familiar ache. A sense of cosmic irony. You lean back in your chair and think, of course. That's just my luck, but it isn't luck. It's a pattern. A script. You feel it when you scroll through the lives of others, lives that seem more vibrant, more purposeful. You see their travels, their creative projects, their bold career moves, and you feel a strange mix of admiration and a deep, personal sense of loss. It's not envy. It's a kind of grief for a version of yourself that never got a chance to exist. The version of you that would have spoken up in that meeting. The one who would have started that project, taken that trip, written that book. The hidden cost of living in the hero's shadow isn't just a collection of missed opportunities. It is a slow and systematic erasure of the self. Each time you defer, each time you hesitate, each time you let the shadow win, you are reinforcing a narrative that you are not the protagonist. You are teaching yourself, on a cellular level, that your role is to observe, to support, to blend in. You become a ghost in your own home, a tourist in your own life. And the most dangerous part? You start to believe that this is who you are. That the shadow is you. But it isn't. It is merely the negative space left behind by a story you abandoned long ago. A story we must now unearth. The scene shifts. We see a slow zoom on a stack of old, weathered manga. The top volume is clearly visible, 20th Century Boys, by Naoki Urasawa. The art style is stark, expressive. The image is grainy, as if it's a photograph from 1995. Voiceover. In the late 1990s, a story was written that wasn't just a story. It was a diagnosis. A psychological key. Naoki Urasawa's masterpiece, 20th Century Boys, is often seen as a sprawling mystery thriller about a group of childhood friends who must save the world from a mysterious cult leader. But that is merely the plot. The surface. The true story is about our problem. It's about the hero's shadow. The protagonist, Kenji, is a man who has been utterly consumed by his. He's a convenience store manager, passively watching his life drift by. He has long since abandoned his childhood dreams of being a rock and roll hero who saves the world. He is you in that meeting. He is the man scrolling through other people's lives. He is living a life of quiet resignation. His life, and the world itself, is upended by a mysterious figure known only as Friend. Friend leads a massive, powerful cult that begins to execute a plan of world domination. And here is the terrifying part. Friend's entire plan is taken, page for page, from a notebook Kenji and his friends wrote as children. A notebook they called the Book of Prophecy. It was their game, a fantasy they created in their secret hideout, a story about giant robots, deadly viruses, and a league of heroes who would rise up to save humanity. To them, it was just a game. But to Friend, it was a blueprint. This is the core idea. The solution to understanding the shadow that governs your life. The games we played as children were not just games. They were the first, purest drafts of our identities. They were the crucible in which we forged our sense of justice, our vision of courage, our definition of a life well lived. This is the source code for our soul. To understand this, we need to break it down into 3 principles. The visual shift to abstract, schematic like animations over faded photographs. Each principle is introduced with a stark, Japanese character title card. Voiceover. First, the principle of the original script. Think back, not to what you were told to be, or what you studied in school, but to your secret world. The one you built in your backyard, or in your bedroom, or in the woods behind your house. Who were you in that world? Were you the lone detective, piecing together clues that no one else could see? Your core value was truth. Were you the wizard, mastering hidden knowledge to protect your allies? Your core value was wisdom. Were you the starship captain, charting courses into the unknown, driven by an insatiable curiosity? Your core value was discovery. This was your original script. It was an unfiltered expression of your deepest, most authentic self. It contained the operating instructions for your own heroism. In 20th century boys, the script was the Book of Prophecy. It was crude, childish, full of drawings of robots and explosions. But it contained their highest values: courage, friendship, and the will to stand up against evil, no matter the odds. It was their code. Second, the principle of the usurper. What happens when we grow up? We are told that our games are childish. Our dreams are impractical. Our original script is put in a box in the attic. We learn to be realistic. We adopt a new script, one given to us by society, by our parents, by the economy. We become the sensible employee, the responsible citizen. But nature abhors a vacuum. When you abandon your own story, you create a void. And something will always rush in to fill it. This is the usurper. In the manga, the usurper is Friend. He takes the form of Kenji's game, but he twists its meaning. He uses the symbols of their childhood, the robots, the secret bases, the hero's emblem, but he drains them of their heroic spirit. He uses them for control, for power, for destruction. Friend is what happens when a childhood dream is hijacked by adult cynicism and fear. In your life, the usurper might not be a cult leader. It's often more subtle. It's your own inner critic, the one that tells you your ideas are stupid. It's the voice of pragmatism that convinces you not to pursue your art because it won't pay the bills. It is any force, internal or external, that takes the language of your dreams and uses it to build a prison. It convinces you that the safe, boring, predictable path is the only path. It usurps your story and replaces it with a tragedy of quiet compliance. Third, the principle of symbolic recall. So how do you fight back? How does Kenji begin to fight Friend? He doesn't suddenly become a superhero. He doesn't find a magic weapon. He picks up his old, dusty guitar. He starts to sing the ridiculous, nonsensical rock song he wrote as a kid, a song that was part of their game. A song that was a symbol of their script. This act of symbolic recall is the key. You cannot defeat the usurper by using the usurper's logic. You can't out-pragmatize your own cynicism. You cannot simply try harder within the corrupted system. You must reboot. You have to reconnect with the symbolism of your original script. The power isn't in literally recreating the game. Kenji doesn't build a real robot. The power is in recalling the feeling, the value, the spirit embedded within the game's symbols. His song was a symbol of rebellion, of hope, of the belief that ordinary people could be heroes. By embracing that symbol, he begins to reclaim his own narrative. He stops being the convenience store manager and starts, once again, to become Kenji. Imagine your life is a piece of software. For years, you've been running a corrupted version, a program infected by the usurper virus. It's slow, it crashes, it's full of pop-up ads telling you you're not good enough. You keep trying to install patches, to run antivirus scans, to optimize the broken code. But it's a losing battle. The only real solution is to find the original installation disk, your original script, and reinstall the entire operating system from scratch. The scene shifts again. We are now in a quiet, minimalist room, like a Japanese tea room but with a modern, slightly sterile feel. The camera focuses on a blank notebook and a pen on a simple wooden table. Voiceover. This is not just a philosophy. It is a practical strategy. A method for psychic excavation. We are going to find your source code and begin the reboot process. Here are 3 concrete steps to reclaim your story from the hero's shadow. I want you to actually do this. Don't just listen. Participate. Step 1. The childhood excavation. Voiceover. Take a pen and a piece of paper. Or open a new document. Find a time when you will not be disturbed for at least 30 minutes. Now, ask yourself this question. What was my most meaningful game of imagination as a child? I'm not talking about Monopoly or video games. I mean the world you created. The one where you were in charge. Close your eyes and go back. Feel the worn carpet under your knees, smell the dust in the attic, see the dappled sunlight through the leaves of your backyard fort. Now, write down the answers to these questions. Be as detailed as possible. Asterisk, what was your role? Were you a spy, a monster tamer, a space explorer, a queen, a scientist building a secret formula? What was the setting? A distant planet? A haunted castle? A secret jungle in your own neighborhood? What was your primary mission? To rescue someone? To discover a hidden truth? To build something new? To defend a sacred place? Asterisk, who was the enemy? A faceless evil empire? A cunning monster? A natural disaster? Or was there no enemy, only a challenge to be overcome? Most importantly, what did you feel asterisk when you were playing this game? Powerful? Clever? Free? Responsible? Brave? This is not an exercise in nostalgia. This is an act of psychological archaeology. You are digging for the foundational pillars of your identity. The answers you write down contain the core values of your original script. That feeling you're chasing? That's the signal. That's the pure, uncorrupted code. Step 2. Identify your friend. Voiceover. Look at the page. Look at the hero you were. Now, look at the life you live. Where is the disconnect? Your next task is to identify the usurper. The friend who hijacked your script. Ask yourself, at what point did I decide this game was no longer worth playing? Was it a specific moment? A teacher who laughed at your story? A parent who told you to get your head out of the clouds and focus on a real career? Was it a slow process? The creeping realization that the world rewards conformity, not creativity? Or perhaps, most insidiously, was it your own voice? The part of you that grew afraid. Afraid of failure. Afraid of judgment. Afraid of not being good enough to be the hero of your own game. Give this force a name. It could be the critic, the pragmatist, the fear. Write its name on the paper. By naming it, you externalize it. You recognize that it is not you. It is a foreign program running on your hardware. It is the usurper. It is your friend. And you must see it for what it is. A thief who stole your story. Step 3. The symbolic reboot. The visuals change to a montage of simple, powerful actions. A person sketching in a notebook. Someone lacing up running shoes at dawn. Someone confidently speaking in a small meeting. The shots are clean, deliberate, and have a sense of quiet power. Voiceover. You cannot go back to being a 10-year-old in a blanket fort. You are an adult, with adult responsibilities. And this is where most people fail. They think reclaiming their story means abandoning their life. It doesn't. The final step is to translate the spirit of your game into a concrete, manageable, adult action. This is the symbolic reboot. Ask yourself, what is a small, modern-day equivalent of my childhood mission? Asterisk. If your game was about exploration and discovery, your symbolic reboot could be to dedicate 1 hour every weekend to learning a skill you know nothing about. Learn code, learn an instrument, use a language app. Or it could be exploring a part of your own city you've never seen. The mission isn't to discover a new planet, it's to embody the spirit of discovery. Asterisk. If your game was about protection and justice, your reboot could be to find one small way to advocate for someone else. It could be mentoring a junior colleague at work. It could be volunteering for a cause you believe in. It could be as simple as being the person in your friend group who actively defends someone who is being gossiped about. The mission is not to fight a dragon, it is to embody the spirit of protection. Asterisk. If your game was about creation and building, your reboot is to create something, anything, with no expectation of it being a masterpiece. Write 1 page of a story. Sketch 1 drawing. Follow a recipe and cook a new meal from scratch. The mission is not to build a skyscraper, it is to embody the spirit of creation. Choose 1 symbolic action. Just 1. And commit to doing it this week. This is your first act of rebellion against the usurper. It is you, picking up your guitar. It may feel small. It may feel foolish. But it is the most powerful thing you can do. Because it is an announcement, to yourself and to the universe, that you are taking your story back. Voiceover. Does this actually work? Or is it just a comforting metaphor? Look at the story. Kenji and his friends don't defeat a global conspiracy with military tactics or political maneuvering. They defeat it with memory. They win because they are the only ones who remember the original meaning of the game. When Friend uses their childhood symbol for his global fascist regime, Kenji and his friends use it as a secret sign for the resistance. They reclaim it. When Friend uses their prophecy of a giant robot to spread fear, they remember the real story they wrote, that a hero would rise to fight it. Kenji's final, heroic act in the story is not one of violence. It is an act of profound empathy, rooted in a shared past. He saves the world by remembering not just the game, but the person who was left out of it. He reclaims not just the script, but its soul. His power, in the end, is his unwavering loyalty to the spirit of his 10-year-old self. This narrative is not just fiction, it is a perfect illustration of a deep psychological truth. The Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung spoke of the archetypes that live within our collective unconscious. One of the most powerful, and most dangerous, is the puer aeternus, the eternal child. Our culture misunderstands this. We see the inner child as something to be indulged, or as a source of immaturity to be suppressed. Jung's insight was more profound. The child archetype holds our potential for creativity, for joy, for new beginnings. The goal is not to kill the child, nor is it to let the child run your life. The goal is to integrate it. To give the child a seat at the table of your adult self. To give it a job. Your original script is that job description. It's the task you give to the most creative, hopeful, and authentic part of your psyche. When you ignore it, that energy doesn't vanish. It festers. It becomes the resentment, the apathy, the hero's shadow that haunts you. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, described the 3 metamorphoses of the spirit. First, we are the camel, the beast of burden who accepts the duties and values of others, saying, "Thou shalt." Then, we become the lion, the rebel who destroys the old values and says, "I will," creating freedom from something. But the final, highest stage is the child. The child is a new beginning, a sacred yes to life. The child doesn't act based on duty or rebellion. The child creates its own values, at play. The steps we have outlined are a pathway to this 3rd metamorphosis. You excavate the burdens of the camel, you use the will of the lion to overthrow the usurper, and finally, you reconnect with the creative, world-building spirit of the child. You learn to play again, but this time, the game is your own life. The final shot is a slow, lingering close-up on a faded photograph of a child. The child is looking directly at the camera, not smiling, but with an expression of intense, serious purpose. It's impossible to tell if the photo is from 1975 or last week. The soft, ambient music swells slightly and then fades, leaving a resonant silence. Voiceover. The hero you were waiting for is not coming. Because that hero has been inside you all along, locked in an attic, waiting for you to remember the game you were born to play. The story is not over. The most important pages are the ones you have yet to write. Now, I want you to look in the comments below. I want you to share one thing. In your childhood game, what was your role? Were you the hero, the inventor, the healer, the outcast? Tell us who you were supposed to be. Let's create an archive of the secret histories of this community. These are the kinds of hidden histories we explore here at Hello, Yesterday. The ones that hide in plain sight, and the ones that hide inside of us. If you believe that understanding the past is the only way to build a meaningful future, join us. Subscribe. The hero's shadow we've discussed today is a personal battle, but it's often created by vast, unseen forces that demand our conformity. To understand how these forces operate on a global scale, you need to watch our next investigation. The architecture of control. How unseen systems shape your reality.